Hello, here we are to play Escape from Kestikal, which is the solo adventure designed as a teaching technique in the game High Fantasy by Jeffrey C. Dillow. This solo adventure was designed by Craig Fisher and included in the core book. I do not recall if I have ever read it, as in, mapped it out and followed it with my finger and anything like that. I think I've always reserved it for all these years for the one day in which I would play it, because if I did ever look at it, I don't remember a thing about it. So this is a pretty fresh little play experience. Kind of looking forward to it. The colorful setting provided with the solo adventure posits a land, amusingly, I guess, named Lysdexia. And that aside, we have this uh, god called Jakarta, who has 66 incarnations and is sort of this god of change. The whole thing has a perhaps Aztec feel to it, although when you get into it and start looking at the illustrations and the depictions of the gods and demons and warriors and things in it, it starts to take on an ancient India feel as well. The whole thing is um, rather evocative, actually, and you are enjoined in the text to read the background or else. So apparently that's going to be relevant to enjoying the scenario or surviving it. Some of the relevant information involves soul keeping gems, which are a big part of the culture, light gems, and the scenario that you are catapulted into is that as a visiting member of minor gentry at a coronation, there's a great big palace coup, and some general has decapitated the young king, and there is a great big revolt. And poor you sort of just showed up from your faraway barony just to sort of bow at the coronation, and now you're considered a loyalist and have to go and flee into the catacombs under the palace in order to escape from what is apparently a complete civil war craziness breaking out. A handy chambermaid has directed me, Xenon Swiftsword, to a secret passage in the palace that can get me out of here. And the few clues that she's able to toss out is follow the red hands of Jakarta, and there is someone or something spelled Ziux. I will call that Shush. Shush will help me if I can find him, her, or it. And then there's also one other element, which is Daisia, who is my cousin. The text informs me that I do not regard her sense of morality or responsibility very highly, and that I may or may not, in fact, that I don't care how she's going to do, which seems a little harsh. But anyway, so I have this cousin who seems to be a bit of an opportunist, and who knows how that's going to play into things. To work, I have summarized in my little sheet here the combat system, and I have, which is a bit truncated for this particular application, and I've also set up, I think, all the equipment I need. And I've even begun my little map situation here, coming in from the east, where I have been talking with the chambermaid, and the guards are coming to apparently go harass her as they chase me, and then some passages going north, south, and east. So there I am with my numbered list. Xenon is a swordsman or a warrior in the class system of the game with the subclass of healer. Very straightforward build, and I've got the little rules all set up for me. We don't seem to worry about the talent system that is associated with, character creation in the game. So I suppose I could have gone through all that to round him out a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't apply very much in this experience. Let's take a look. You reach the bottom of the stairs and you stand for a moment to catch your bearings. You are at the intersection of three halls, north, south, and east. The southern hall is significantly wider than the other two and relatively well lit. Huge light gems and portraits alternate down the passage. From above you, you hear the sound of booted feet and a rough voice which says, "So he's run down here, has he? You take this wench and save her for later." The chambermaid had assured me she would be okay and I should just go. "You and you will follow our royal coward." Okay, it kind of pisses me off. They're insulting me. "Do you run up the stairs to rescue the chambermaid? Go to scene 10. Run down the hall to the east. Go to scene 38. Run down the hall to the south. Go to scene 68. Run down the hall to the north. Go to scene 52. Well, this is where I have to choose between looking at the title of the adventure, which says Escape from Kestekel, or responding to this bit of provocation that they have threatened the chambermaid who was helping me and calling me names. I mean, I was running away from these guards because I didn't want to fight them, and now I'm kind of looking back up the stairs, thinking maybe I'm going to go up to number 10 because these guys are jerks. Up to 10. Nope. Go to scene 10. Oh, look at this. Apparently I'm smart. You hide in the shadows and wait until the first Zla, which is kind of your basic soldiery guy, is almost on top of you. You leap out of the shadows, thrusting your sword through him. He gurgles and dies. Looking up, you see three Zla coming down the stairs. Do you attack, or do you retreat down the stairs and run north, south, or east? Okay, honor has been served. I blooded myself, and I think it's now time to say, something like, oh, I don't know. Something suitable, and then to dodge back down the stairs and back into the dungeon I go. Get back in the death trap. Go, go, go. Okay, off I go. Well, then we got that big old corridor going south, and then the sort of secondary ones that are going elsewhere. And I'm going to follow the one with the light. I don't think I have any means of making light with me, so I'm going to stick with the light gems for the moment and head down to 68. Now, there we are. You move along the well-lit halls and notice that frescoes are painted along both sides of the corridor. After examining these paintings, you realize that they detail the 66 incarnations of Jakarta. All right, remember this whole cultural thing. We're supposed to be paying attention to this, and I'm going to map. You'll see when I get to the map again that it's going to be a little longer down that way. And so I reach a wide intersection with wide halls that go north, south, and east. Down the east hall, you see a large bronze door with two red spots decorating them. And then it gives you numbers for where to go. All right, let me go ahead and okay, going north simply means going back the way I came, so never mind that. And I was told to follow the red hands of Jakarta, which at the moment they just are red spots on the door, but red is red. So I shall go over to the door. Kind of like this, the way this is structured, the numbers are running down the outside edges, so there's no problem with reading things by accident. You just confine yourself to the edges of the page to find the number, and you don't have to like accidentally see she betrays you or something like that, without wanting to be at that spot. Anyway, 153. You slowly walk down the wide, well-lit hall, marveling at the intricate frescoes adorning the wall. It is a very graphic display of many, if not all, of the incarnations of Jakarta. After a distance, you come to a door adorned with a left and a right palm, painted in an eerie shade of red. Aha, the spots were the hands of Jakarta. Ta-da! The door faces west and halls run, well, that's funny, I thought the door faced east. Did I miss something there? Let's see. I went down to 68. I was at 68. East, 53. 153. The door faces west. I get it. In other words, toward me, it goes west. Halls run north, south, and east from your present position. Boy, I am finding that a little odd. It feels like I just sort of reversed myself mirror-wise because I walked east to get here. Oh, no, that makes sense. Right, right. Door halls run north, south, and east from my present position. East, of course, meaning the way that I just came. Okay, that makes sense. So, or you may decide to open the door. Never mind all the other ways. I want to open the door. So we go here. It says if P is marked, go to 9. If P is not marked, go to 36. I have no P marked. Nothing has happened to me yet. So therefore, I'm going to go to 36. Kind of a bummer, sort of implies that maybe something should have happened before I came to this door and tried to open it, but we'll see. 36. Oh, this is a big deal. There's quite a map here. You find yourself in a large, well-lit circular room. In the center of the room is a statue of Jakarta in the final incarnation. Facing the statue are 6 iron and 2 bronze doors set at regular intervals around the wall. The 2 bronze doors are set in the east and west side and are each guarded by 2 large stone statues. Most of the light comes from a source set in the clasped hands on Jakarta. You will also note that 2 red palms are set in relief on either bronze door. The 6 iron doors apparently lead to tombs, for the names of the emperors are still visible on them. So here's what we're looking at here. Wow. All right. Well, this is, and as you can see, the names of the emperors are written on there, and we've got the red palms pictures. Little doors are set into the bronze doors, and I have no intention. See, set in the east and west sides. So that would be the way I came, and the one opposite me. So let me draw my circular around here. Do you go to leave by the eastern bronze door? And let's just skip right past the parts that say entering the tombs, because I ain't going anywhere inside any tomb without a clue saying that I should have done it. So no, I will go to leave by the eastern bronze door, which is the opposite of the way I came in. So that takes me to 325. 325. Roll 2 dice, meaning the percentile dice. 1 through 50 go one way, 51 through 100 go another way. 160. Boom. 45. Where does my roll take me? Since I got 45, I now go to 160. Suddenly, noiselessly, an old man is at your side, dressed in the robes of a priest of Jakarta. He carries no weapons. Please leave, he says. The slaughter above has disturbed the spirit's touch. Holiness, you reply, please show me the way that I may leave this shrine and this maze of tunnels. The red hands show the path that the pilgrims follow, but you are not such, and thus you may not pass today, the priest answers, pointing to the eastern doors. You may not pass, but you may leave, he finished, raising his left arm to point toward the bronze door on the western side of the circular room. That's the way I came in. You may draw your sword and attack the priest, leave by the western door, or try to leave by the eastern door. Let us presume that I am not an idiot. Clearly, given all of the conditional, if this, then that I've faced already in this particular sequence, I need to come back here after gaining a thing or two. So therefore, I say thank you. And I'm going to go back the way I came and go up and down some other area, knowing this is probably the way out, should I manage to, get a P marked or whatever that is, I hope. So good enough. I shall leave by the western door. So there we go. 207. It's kind of tricky on my map because I've been marking the numbers, in the spots. But now that I'm going back, then I have new numbers. But who knows? Maybe it'll send me back to that same spot. I won't have to worry about that. I'm going to scribble in a 207 in sort of a completely illegible way now. Maybe should have had different colored pens. 207. You stand outside the bronze door looking down the frescoed walls that lead north, 80, south, 291, west, 68. Well, here is the interesting kind of thing. Because I wonder, are these different hallways? I think they kind of are. My map just got warped. So let's see here. At the door, I think there was another north and south options. 80, 291. I don't really want to go back all the way to the previous intersection. I'm standing at the doors and I can go north and south from here. So I'll pick one of these. I'm going to, in the interest of not turning my map into total craziness, because I think I need a redraw, I'm going to take 291, going south. You quickly, that's good, come to an intersection where a wide, well-lit hall leads north. That's the way that I just came from. And a smaller, dustier hall runs east and west. So I can go back the way I came, or I can go in this dusty hall east or west. So I'm going to go and draw it down here, and I'm going to have this narrow T corridor, and I think I'm going to go east, sort of proceeding deeper into the complex, I guess, if I want to follow that logic. So going east takes me to 164. And then we've got, let's see, west would have been 320. 164, through the dusty corridor I go. $164. You are at a T with arms running north, east, and west. It's funny, I thought I was proceeding east. It's 291 and see about that. So kind of frustrating me a little. I hate that part. Right. So I was going east to 164. East is that way. 164 tells me you are at a T with arms running north, east, and west. So west is the way that I just came. So then I can either go, oh, that kind of T. Okay. Got it. I can go back up north, or I can keep going this easterly direction. And I think I'm just going to keep going east. The map's not, or the instructions aren't giving me any kind of distance, so therefore, you turn enough corners, you end up cramming yourself into a tiny little map space, and then you got to redraw it, and who knows if that's even right. So it gets a little tricky. So there I am, zooming off to 227, down my easterly corridor as I proceed deeper that way. You are at another T with halls heading north, east, and west. Well, I'm just running into quite a bit of same sort of running off here. And so to write in my numbers, 164, yeah, which is where I just came from. And then 165 to the north and 218 to the east. Huh. Seems to be this long east-west corridor, and then all these branches keep heading back north as I traverse. Might want to change it up just a little bit and go north this time. Thinking, well, you know, this easterly thing, I mean, it's not getting me anywhere. Maybe something interesting's up this way. And we see that 165. 165. Ooh, doors. You stand outside a door on the western wall of a north-south corridor. So I could continue north, or I could go through this door, which is going to be 226. Locked. You could probably break it down, but it might be noisy. Do you try or give up and head north or south? You know, there's that language again, you know, give up, might be noisy. Are you scared? You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. But you know what? A dusty quarters, not finding anything, going through all this, skulking around, starting to feel irritated, and then I'm going to say, all right, enough of this. You know, this part doesn't look like a sacred temple, so I'm going to kick in a door. 266. Let's see if I can bust in this door. And it says, using your shoulder, you push at the door again and again. The door begins to give a little. You pull out your sword, begin to pry at the lock. The lock splits from the wood and the door swings open. Not even a roll. You enter and partially close the door. You have only gone a short distance when a noise behind you makes you turn around. There stands a death dealer. Fight the death dealer. Marked in my death dealer situation, and I know what number I'm at, which is 266, so I can get back here if I want to. Now I have to go fight a death dealer and use the stats from the rogues gallery, which are over here. The elite of the Kazteklan army, death dealers are feared throughout the continent. The extent of the death dealer's armor and the size of their sword slow them in combat, make them almost impossible to kill. The sword does +3 damage, unlike mine, which does +0. You can watch me do combat now. So our death dealer has offense 120, defense ultimately with all his crap is 85, quickness 4. And that's all I need to know. Don't forget that he's got the +3 sword. That's all I need, which is kind of awesome. Let's set you over here and get this ready. Get ready to mark a bunch of stuff on my sheet. And my quickness is 9 minus 4 with my sword, but that still puts me at 5, which is just a wee bit faster than him. So I'm going to get in my shot first. Right. Well, I have stats for spear use, which would be really, really nice now right now because it does extra damage when I huck it at somebody. But the problem with that is that I don't have a spear yet. So I'll have to get a spear somewhere before I can do that. In the meantime, what we do is we take my offense, which is 125 with my sword. I'm actually a little better than my sword than he is with his. But he's got monster defense. So subtracting 85 from 125 gives me only a 40% chance to hit, which I do not feel all that great about. So let's see what happens. 27. I did. Awesome. So what we do is we head for this table, and I find 40, not 27, not the number I rolled, but 40, the number that I had to hit. That gives me the column. Now I roll and see how I do on, and this is where you really, 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 super really want to roll high. 43. Here, so I go down here to find my row, and I go over here to find my column, and it says 10 and 3 over 2. I can, in this particular construct, I add the 3 and the 2 to make a 5, so 10 and 5. What this means is I just knocked him down. I just knocked down his offense by 10, so he's at 110. And I just knocked down his defense by 5, So he is at 80. Well, it could be worse because now he's going to take his shot at me. We're basically, doesn't seem to be a lot of tactics here. We're just going to trade hacks at this kind of numerical grind down, I suppose. But at least I got, a bit of a start. I've got my defense is 65 because I have my personal defense of 45 and my armor of 20. So he's got his offense of 110, subtracting 65. We'll put him, let's see, at 45 to hit, which is better than the 55 that he had a minute ago. Does he hit me? 72. His humongous, whooping, hooked sword, nasty thing misses me, which is awesomeness. So I will continue in this vein and get back to you in a minute. All right, we have returned, and as you can see, a great deal of arithmetic has occurred, both for the Death Dealer and for me, Xenon. To summarize that fight, it was pretty touch and go. There was a little back and forth, a couple of misses back and forth, and then I was able to clip him good enough so that his numbers dropped. Then I had the numerical advantage. Now, I did notice halfway through the fight that I made a mistake, that his sword is a +3 damage, and I should have been shifting 3 columns over, which would have significantly nailed me early on. And as it happened after that, I didn't take damage. So after I noticed, so we're going to call that beginner's luck and move along rather than replay it. But suffice to say that that particular Death Dealer must have had a touch of the flu or something that day, or had failed to sharpen his sword. And anyway, I managed to get out of that one, partly due to ignorance, because that early clip by his sword would have been nasty. I will point out that it's all about the damage roll. The columns are about how high your roll to hit is. So once you get some damage done to somebody and your chance to hit goes up, you're working with higher and higher and higher columns. But you do have that pure percentile roll for the actual row. And that's where the damage really, really, really racks up. So my final hit on him, which actually put me at the bottom row, he was still, pretty up and going at that point. And although I had higher numbers and was statistically better off, and especially since I noticed the +3 at that point, I was still fearing a blow from that sword. But then I rolled that high damage roll, which took one look and the numbers are just astronomical. And you're like, okay, he drops. So kind of interesting there. Very, very touch and go for evenly matched opponents. Purely a dice off at that point makes me real interested about secondary factors in combat that would make it a little bit more interesting. If you start off with a high numerical advantage, then you're probably in pretty good shape. Their lower roll to hit means that they're using lower rated columns in the first place. So you would only really fear a really high row roll. So the way healing works is that, right, I take 115, I subtract my personal damage, which at the moment is 6 points. Oh, cool. So basically I'm going to succeed on a 95, or sorry, on a 95 or less, I succeed. And I do. I get a 30. Which means I can erase all my personal damage, which is awesome. So my armor is a little bit dinged up from that fight, but I'm okay. So, and I also have 1 less herb. I only have 4 left. Where was I? I was at 226, and let's see what happens now that I have defeated the Death Dealer and dealt him a little death of my own. If you win, go to 287. As you were fighting the Death Dealer, you heard footsteps coming down the hall from the west, which is the way I came. Not wishing to get involved in another fight at this point, you step out into the corridor and head north or south. So that, I believe, is that kind of the way I came? Because I went in through this door. Step out into the corridor. I don't know. I guess maybe he was just kind of standing in a room or something like that. I think he came in after me. So I need to. Oh, he's coming from the west. Right. Yeah, that's the way I came. Well, north or south? Well, I was proceeding north at this point, so I'm going to go north to 2002, 203. I'm just drawing arrows instead of corridors now. After walking a short distance, you come to a large door completely blocking the corridor. Can't go north except through that large door. The smaller wood door is set in the eastern wall, which is to my right. The large door is unlocked, and you slowly open it. Okay, good. No tedious decision making there. Just enough to allow you to look down the hall on the other side. Darkness. You open the eastern door for a look, and you see a stairway leading down. There's a faint light coming up at you from somewhere below. Do you go down the stairs, go through the large door, and continue north, or return south? That's a bit of a question. There's not a whole lot of clues there. Kind of interested in the light, because again, I don't have a whole lot of light with me, and that is the only practical notion I can think of to guide me. So down the stairs I go. Bit of a typo here. 260 is the direction for either going down the stairs or going through the big door, so I have no choice but to go wherever 260 told me. I went. Apparently, I went through the door. You open the door and gaze down a long, dark corridor. The corridor is wide and has a high ceiling decorated with some obscure carvings. You close the door behind you and proceed down the hall. You pass two large stone figures placed on either side of the hall and eventually come to a large circular room, which makes it a little suspicious that somehow this is the same large circular room as before, but I'm sort of in that vicinity, but maybe not. We'll see. The room is also dark, has a tall 30-foot statue of Jakarta rising up in the center off a 20-foot in diameter, 3-foot high pedestal, which is kind of big. In this one of her many incarnations, Jakarta wears a serpentine body, complete with 2 sets of arms and scales, which is awesome. This is obviously a different room because there aren't all those tomb doors. So another big circular room, roughly in the same area. I'll draw that. And corridors lead all 4 compass directions out of the room. Here we go. At various places on the floor and walls are carvings of the holy snakes massed in writhing formations. Only the center of the room near the statue is devoid of these ornaments. Suspicion. There's the corridors I talked about. At the compass directions, there is a door set in the southeast side. So there's a corner door rather than just the compass doors. And this door seems to be slightly ajar, and you quietly step over to investigate. As you touch the door with the tip of your sword, you hear a loud hissing like air escaping from a wineskin. You turn around and find that the coiled serpents have come to life and seem to be moving toward you. You quickly decide to run for the eastern exit, run for the southern exit, run for the pedestal at the center of the room, or open the door and go in. You know, Jakarta's on my side. I'm kind of okay with going to the pedestal in the center of the room and saying, okay, goddess, I didn't do anything wrong here. Help me out. Either that or all the snakes are going to get me for, profaning the pedestal and the idol. We'll find out. So I'm going to run to the pedestal, which is 274. I'm going to mark that. It's not on map movement, so I'm just going to mark it down at the bottom. And we have consequences. Roll 2 dice. Interesting. 1 to 10. 10%, not 50-50, a 10% chance. I go one place, 90% chance, I go somewhere else. Pretty sure which one's the good one. Rolling me an 80. Consequence, 284. Presumably the bad one, the 90% chance one. You reach the wide pedestal of the statue and climb up off the floor. You are possibly safe from the snakes here, but nearly anywhere else in the room they would be a danger. Your options are to make a break for the southern exit, make a break for the northern exit, make a break for the eastern exit, make a break for the western exit, make a break for the partially open door on the southeast wall, or wait. 340. Well, I'm going to stick with my role-playing tactic here and see about waiting at the pedestal. Writing again that down so I know where I've been, and we go to 340. You feel a little dizzy. Must be all the exertion and strain. You lie down to keep yourself from fainting, but the floor begins to spin round and round. Go to 307, and there's no other option. Might not have been the best idea. Gods. You feel the room spinning and the stone dissolving beneath you. When your sight begins to return, you find that, roll 2 dice, and add plus 20 if the P is marked. And I am unmarked with a P. So I do not add plus 20. And 57 could have been a 77. There. Okay, so 57. Well, actually pretty high on the list there. Go to 86. Let me see what 86 brings me. You are in a 4-foot wide, 3-foot deep ditch. I have been transported somewhere, with water flowing from the northwest to the southeast. Suspicious of the light coming from an arch set in the northeast wall, you decide to investigate. All right, so I'm in a whole different place, and I'll have to start a spot like de novo on my map and see what it is. I'll draw that in a minute. As you peer inside, you are amazed to see a high vaulted room with a statue of Jakarta, either the 53rd or 54th incarnation. Incidentally, the 33rd incarnation, which is kind of this demonic elephant being, is the one that the usurper has claimed as his deity. So I kind of want to look out for the 33rd one. But anyway, this is a different one, just like the snake lady was a different incarnation. So 53rd or 54th, I guess I'm not theologian enough to know precisely which, set in the center. Light is flowing from the eyes of the statue, casting strange shadows about the pond that serves as a floor to the room. An alligator swims lazily toward you. Do you attack or wade to the northwest or the southeast? Now, which way was that statue? Northeast wall is the arch with the room with the statue in it. So I want to go that way, being all about the god thing, and not about the alligator fighting thing in the muddy ditch. So we are going to go, let's see. Well, that's funny. The arch and the northeast wall. Oh, the pond is the floor to the room. So, looking at the arch, I don't think I'm going to be able to go there. I've got to wade to the northwest or to the southeast, following. So I'm stuck in the ditch, basically. I need to go something. I need to do something about that. Whew. Can't go toward the statue. So great. I think I'll at least try to evade the alligator. There's probably a roll coming up where he's going to catch me. But let's go ahead and go to southeast 32. Yeah, we're going to draw this stream here. There. Okay, mapped. Now we have our 32 situation as I splish splash to the southeast, and it tells me you are at a point where a north-south ditch breaks an east-west haul. I am the north-south ditch. And there's an east-west haul, which is good. It says you notice a light burning up the ditch to the north. I know that. I have been up it and seen the statue, and it did not let me go and talk to the statue because I met an alligator. So, wonder if I'd fought the alligator, whether I could have got a chance to chat with the statue and maybe get a P marked. But instead, as you tarry, you feel a tug on your mind, and you know that they have brought out the Zermox to look for you, which are psychic baddies. And you got to look out for those because you roll on the damage table for both the row and the column, so the chance for true badness at the lower corner of the table is present. So quickly coming to a decision, you decide to wade upstream, downstream, in my ditch, walk east or west. So I could just keep going in the ditch, huh? Don't like the ditch. I'm going to go west. So 109 or 60. You come to a four-way intersection with arms going north, south, east, and west. One moment while I map. Let's go north. 323. You come to an intersection where a westerly hall meets a wide north-south hall. On the eastern side of the latter hall is a red print of a right palm. The print is barely visible, as if someone took pains to obliterate it. So let me draw this correctly so that I know which way that hand is placed. So I'm going north, and then there's a westerly hall to my left that I could take. But in the wall to my right, just like right there in the wall, is the red handprint. So it kind of looks as if you were headed west and you came to this red handprint, you would know that you were going in the correct direction. You just wouldn't know whether to go north or south. I came from the south, so I'm going to keep going north on the presumption that that red handprint was saying, okay, coming from the west, see me? Okay, go one of these ways. That's my hope. So I'm going to continue to the north and 278. You come to a point where a small ditch intersects a north-south hall. Been here, and yeah, oh, 278, yeah, I've been here exactly. And so, yes, at last my map is, this section of my map is hooking up. And so I can go north on my hallway, south back down the hall, wade east or west through the water. So come to basically the water going east or west, which is the way that I trudged down and like had to cope with the alligator maybe before. Or I could continue north up here, just north out of this whole muddy ditch problem entirely, which I'm, let's see, 278, right? Which I'm kind of tempted to do. Kind of wonder, let's see, if I go north, there's this ditch thing. Kind of a good question because there is a shrine of Jakarta over there, and maybe I just have to go and fight an alligator and be able to talk to the shrine. Would be kind of irritating if it was a random encounter and I just went and fought an alligator for no reason and still had to go up and down the ditch. So bit of a question. If I wade west 59, which I think I'm going to go back to that statue because red hands of Jakarta and you follow them and then there's a statue of Jakarta and just because there's an alligator there, maybe it's a really, really good idea to do that. Right, west 59, back down the ditch where I was before. Small grotto. Oh, this is slightly different. It's kind of interesting. 278 though, I mean, it's the same thing. I guess I haven't got to the area with the statue yet. So looks like stream flowing east out of the space. Looks like the only way. Okay, so the stream keeps going. And I'm at my little grotto, and it spraying water. A fountain is set into the middle, spraying water into the air through a grotesque fountain head. This seems to be the source of the flowing water. Do you drink the water, or do you go east down the stream? Ooh, temptations. I want to go and talk to the goddess, right? I mean, that was what I was planning on doing here. I mean, not just like, I'm drinking the water. Write down 91. Gonna regret this. The water might have been poisoned, but wasn't. You wait a little, perhaps expecting some sort of magical reaction. You end up merely disappointed and follow the ditch and the flowing water to the east. Go to 278. Right. This is the famous 278 where we have been before, and I am right. Here's where I'm at. And that didn't hook up. That wasn't the same stream. Though it didn't hook up, even though I thought it did, because 278 was there. Don't want to get confused again. I'm going to go all the way back there to that 278 intersection and see about where I'm going to go next. West through the water. Oh, west through the water, 59. That's the problem. I went the wrong way. The grotto's over there. Oh, that makes sense because that's the source of the water. Okay, all right. East in the water, which is where I kind of wanted to go. I ended up going west up the water to find the head of the stream. Fine. Now I'm coming back to the goddess. Okay, okay, goddess this time. So east, 86, not 59. There we are. Exactly back. Okay. I'm gonna fight the alligator. You've been through the mechanics once, and I'll come back to you after alligator time and tell you how that went. Well, the alligator wasn't all that compared to the death dealer. No extra damage bonus, for example, and also I handled any problems with my healing herb, which I also have checked off again. So suffice to say that that's over. So that's over. The good news is that I now may search the pond for the next few minutes and finally something. Now I'm not really interested in gold pieces or gems or something like that, except for cool gems. I'm much more interested in something to do with that goddess statue. 28. In the water near the southwest wall of the ditch, you catch something reflecting the light from the eyes of Jakarta. It is a carven stone tablet. You cautiously try to read the letters by feel. There is something about the cliffs and a relief palm almost exactly the same size as your right. A hand of Jakarta. For a vague second, you feel a sea breeze from the southeast. Do you wish to go to the northwest or the southeast? Southeast it is. Now, I have been that way before, so perhaps, let's take a look here. Anyway, so yes, I've got this thing, and I'm on my way to the southeast to 32, which is an intersection that I already have marked on my map as 32, so that's good. Don't have to remap. Here I go, and this is where the Zermaks are mentally hunting for me again. So I've got this situation, upstream, north, downstream, right? Downstream, yeah, continuing on the southeast. I think I've got my trick here. It's 295. Now that I've got this, I'm going to head down this way. So never mind all these corridors where they're all hunting for me. I'm like, wading in the water, and I've got a little stone. So following the southeast. Cliffs. There was some mention earlier of cliffs that I might escape to. So Haven't met my cousin yet or anything like that. There's a whole lot of plotting here and stuff. No P marking yet, right? A whole bunch of stuff I seem to not have encountered. So downstream, 295. There. As you slosh around the water, you come to a rough-hewn arch introducing a hall leading east. You may wade upstream, downstream, or you may step out of the ditch and head east. You know what? I'm sticking with it. Downstream, 262 it is. And that hall was, just to mark it on the map, was 273. Fine. Okay, 262 it is. As we continue downstream, heading down there with my magic thing, you're at a small ditch filled with hip-deep water. You look upstream and see only darkness. I knew that part. You look south downstream and see a faint bluish light. Halls to the east and west are dark, and so then I have my choice to, again, go in these halls or to keep on the stream, and I think you know what I'm going to do, which is 285. You walk until you reach an intersection where a westerly hall dead ends on a north-south ditch. You look downstream to the south and see far down the ditch a glint of blue light. You also see some waves rippling down the ditch, most likely caused by some aquatic creature or other. To the north and west, all you can see is darkness. So westerly hall, and I am going to continue downstream to the south, marking the numbers for the choices just because I like to keep mapping. So 310, 239. Aquatic creature or not, this seems to be the only really sensible story option. The water is clean and cold. Ahead you can see a brightness that looks like daylight. You are perhaps 50 feet past the last intersection when a huge alligator pushes past you in the water. It is heading downstream and is gone before you can strike it. I'm not following the logic on that one there. Sacred to Jakarta, right? I guess I sacrificed the last alligator to her. So do you turn back toward the last intersection or do you continue? 312. 312. You continue walking toward the light until roll 2 dice. 1 through 70 go to 293. 71 to 100 go to 354. And there's no contingencies here. It's 70% of this and 30% of that. Let's take a look. Oh, and you can see on my map, right? It's zoosh. Been traveling down that way. And it tells me 34. Okay, that puts me in the 70% range, not the 30% range. So 293 it is. And let's hope that that is a better thing than a bad thing. The alligator attacks. Its offense is reduced by 95 due to the narrowness of the ditch. I'm actually pretty full up. I'm not too worried about fighting this alligator. See you in a minute. Back post alligator. And having won, I have a choice. I can either go back the way I came or keep going, and that's it. So that was basically just a 70% chance of having to fight an alligator instead of getting out scot-free, I hope. According to 354, you stumble down the ditch as the daylight ahead becomes brighter and brighter. You finally break out into the clean, fresh air. You made it. Below you lie the waters of the Great Bay. You see the small boats moored there and an overwhelming statue of Jakarta, at least twice the size of anything you saw inside, looming over the cave. And I shall honor the god. The extreme waters flow about your feet and cascade down the cliffside. They swirl past the feet of Jakarta and end mixing with the green waters on the bay. You follow the flow, walking, now sliding down. You clamber over the scaled feet of Jakarta and slide the rest of the way to the pools below. Go to 333. You grab one of the more seaworthy boats and push it out into the bay. Climbing aboard, you deftly rig the sail, and within minutes you begin to move away from the shore. It is a long sail home, but it will give you time to plot your revenge. Big letters. The end. So you can see here where I entered and went down here and went into the round room, talked to the priest, says you can't go that way, and rummaged around, went through other quarters, into another round room, and then I got myself all mystically bollocksed with the snakes, and the statue transported me into this whole different area over here in this whole different area. Then I went round and round, figuring out the situation, realized I probably would have to fight this alligator here after all, and sure enough, I did. Got the signal that I needed and stayed on the stream. Now, of course, we all know that water flows downstream and goes to the ocean, which is where I was supposed to be going. So I guess I didn't really need the statue to tell me that. But down I go, and alligator or so afterward, I end up out. So I didn't really have to deal with pursuers particularly. I think if I'd hung around in the quarters, that some of those Zermaks or whoever would have eventually, come upon me. And then also there's the question of my cousin, whom I never met, which is kind of too bad. 5th level alchemist, which means he has a gun and seemed to have been set up to be some kind of dramatic situation in terms of opinions about the usurpation and stuff like that. So I'll just have to play it again one of these days and hope I run into her. Thank you for sharing this with me and taking a look at some basic role-playing stuff. I'll follow up with a comment or two